The year is 1996. Tom Cruise is on Rosie O'Donnell's talk show to promote the release of his new film, Jerry Maguire, which would result in one of the most famous line deliveries in all of film.
Show me the money!
But little did he know that just 3 years later, his off-screen persona would be the inspiration behind the on-screen character of Patrick Bateman. Christian Bale was looking for the right way to nail Bateman's Martian-like attitude.
I simply am not there.
And after stumbling on one of Tom's interviews with David Letterman, he'd found exactly what he was looking for. Bale said that Cruise had this intense friendliness with nothing behind the eyes. It seemed like he'd just watch what other people did and try to work out the right way to behave. So you're probably wondering, why this Rosie interview? Well, just watch.
No, I like her, I do, it's okay. It's Renee I was upset with. It's Renee in the movie with all that.
Tom has this intense energy. It seems like Rosie doesn't have to try to spark some pretty strong laughter, which, oddly enough, ends abruptly. Tom is praised as one of the nicest guys in Hollywood.
Tom Cruise, you are legendary for the amount of time you spend with your fans and the signings and all that time.
But where some see an intense friendliness, others see an awkward and forced delivery.
I think it's absolutely appalling when we talk about freedom of speech and human rights. I think it's appalling that they electric shock people.
We have to provide food and shelter for the homeless, while also promoting equal rights for women.
But is it really that out of the realm of normal? Tom opens this interview being super candid about his anxiety.
I'm nervous.
You're nervous?
I'm nervous.
Don't be nervous!
Rosie, however, is intent on showering the guy with compliments, which seem to make him slightly uncomfortable.
Got a little crush on you.
It's common knowledge that people often use laughter as a defense mechanism. Tom is incredibly shy here, so in an effort to regulate the emotions of such a high-stress situation, he turns to laughter.
You don't mind it, do you?
No.
No, does it
No.
scare you a little bit? Am I like an inch away from being a stalker? Because
Often timing it in response to her comments, even ones that, at times, aren't really that funny. What Tom's doing here is called mirroring. It's where someone pays close attention to the other person, and in an effort to make them feel seen or heard, can sometimes engage in an overly friendly manner. This is incredibly common in day-to-day conversation. It's a sort of social glue that keeps us connected. It's how Tom Cruise is so effectively good at playing the good guy, and he's played them time and time again. He's had decades to develop this charm and approachable charisma, and while at times certainly over the top, it seems he can adapt to nearly anyone. This willingness to become a social chameleon and intense commitment to the craft has made him a box office megastar. So what would happen if you deviated from that typecast? A risk that could come at the expense of your career. Fortunately for Cruise, it would be at the direction of one of the most respected filmmakers of the last 50 years.
Tom's a very committed guy, and if I say, Tom, be there at 9, he'll be there 10 to 9.
Michael Mann was certain Cruise could bring a compelling intensity to the character of Vincent.
We spent about 2 or 3 months building up the character of Vincent. What Vincent was doing when he was 2, what Vincent was doing when he was 11. Tom and I had a complete understanding for every single moment.
However, audiences were a mixed bag. It was a departure from his usual roles. No one had really seen him play a character who was truly villainous in quite some time. This, of course, would lead to its share of skepticism. Surely there was no way this overly positive action hero could be so menacing, and even if he could, it would definitely be hard to take him seriously. Then you watch the film and realize whoever doubted this performance initially could not possibly have been more wrong.
I do this for a living!
Within their first interaction, you notice Vincent is a nihilist.
To tell you the truth, whenever I'm here, I can't wait to leave. Sprawled out, disconnected. You know, that's me.
He seems to discuss only the flaws within LA, even engaging in a little sarcastic back and forth.
You're one of these guys that do instead of talk. That's cool.
Vincent is incredibly good at getting Max to put his guard down. He can easily predict the behavior of others and empathize with them.
These guys don't pay you sick leave. How much you pull down a shift?
I'll make it 600.
Here's 300 down. What's your name?
Max.
I'm Vincent.
constantly using this emotional awareness to further his crime spree and diffuse tension. While violence is certainly an option, he avoids it if he can.
Just please, man, don't do anything.
And don't let me get cornered.
While at times considerate,
Flowers?
It's a waste of money. Won't mean a thing to her.
She carried you in her womb for 9 months.
he's never attached.
Now we gotta make the best of it. Improvise, adapt to the environment.
But criminals don't always come in the form of people like Vincent. Most aren't as technical or fearless, but they're still pretty bold. It's incredibly frustrating to have your data leaked online. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' call and text records had been exposed in a massive data breach. And it hasn't even been a few months since they admitted that over 70 million of their users' social security numbers ended up on the dark web. The stolen logs also contain a list of every number AT&T customers called or texted. Even if you don't use them, you could still be at risk. So in order to protect myself, I use Aura, the sponsor of today's video. Aura will alert me if they find out that my phone number or any other sensitive information has been compromised, and they give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that data to access my credit or bank accounts. But you also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance all in just one app. They also have an AI-powered call assistant that screens unknown callers for spam or scams. It also scans text as well, helping you minimize the risk of phishing threats. Personally, I'm not leaving myself vulnerable to data breaches, and if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/Renzi and try your first 2 weeks for free. I'll leave a link in the description below. Thank you again to Aura for sponsoring today's video. Now, there's this trope in movies where the main villain or protagonist is usually connected to something, either a loved one or a person in passing that can be used as an Achilles heel. While Max has this, Vincent does not. When your job is to be as cold, calculated, and efficient as possible, you absolve yourself of any real attachment or fault. It only serves to slow you down. This is noticed almost immediately after the first stop.
You killed him?
No, I shot him. Bullets in the fall killed him.
You threw a man out of a window.
I didn't throw him. He fell.
Max is understandably distraught, at which point Vincent calms him down with a little whataboutism.
Max, 6 billion people on the planet, you're getting bent out of shape because of one fat guy. Have you ever heard of Rwanda?
Yes, I know Rwanda.
Nobody's killed people that fast since Nagasaki and Hiroshima. Did you bat an eye, Max?
Man, I don't know any Rwandans.
You don't know the guy that trunk either.
The thing is, he's not doing it out of empathy or morality. He's just trying to further the mission by putting Max at ease.
You promised not to tell anybody, right?
Yeah.
Get in the f***ing car.
There are even moments where you see sparks of morality, moments where the audience wants to root for the both of them.
Not get excited? How am I supposed to not get excited? Listen to you try to extort a working man. Now what are you trying to pull, you sarcastic f***? Tell him he's an ass. Go ahead.
You're an ass.
When Vincent forces Max to finally stand up for himself, it's entirely self-serving, yet it's still somewhat touching. When at the gas station, Vincent warns that Max's behavior could lead to more harm.
You attract attention, you're gonna get people killed who didn't need to be.
Vincent personally doesn't care, but he knows Max does, and he's able to play the role of the empathetic voice of reason.
Okay, if it makes you feel any better, he was a criminal, involved in a continuing criminal enterprise.
These little sparks of humanity are scattered throughout the film. They're what make him so terrifying.
Man. You hassling my driver again?
Vincent is not just a guy brute forcing his way through every interaction. He's clearly a bad guy, but he can adapt to any social situation no matter the level of stress.
So? 5, thanks. Had a good night?
Yeah, mezzo. You?
Take this scene within the jazz bar. Vincent convinces Max to grab a drink and release tension.
Guy told me about this place off Crenshaw. All the West Coast greats played there. Dexter Gordon, Charlie Mingus.
To Max's surprise, jazz is something Vincent is deeply familiar with.
It's off melody, behind the notes, not what's expected.
Given that he's convinced Max that they're here casually, Max is comfortable enough to chat up the jazz musician and share a drink with him.
You know, that was Miles, man.
For the owner, nothing seems out of the ordinary, and with the addition of Max, the musician puts his guard down. This, of course, ends up sealing his fate.
I just when I thought you were a cool guy.
Come on, Vincent. Give the dude a pass.
Jazz.
I'm working here.
Listen.
But it's this moment right here that I find most interesting within this scene. In an effort to maintain Max's composure, Vincent lets his emotions get in the way of business.
I'll ask a question.
What question?
Jazz question. And you get it right. We roll.
We know he has a pretty strong knowledge of jazz music. He's a man who has the capacity to both understand and enjoy art, yet he's built this tough exterior to shield himself from any potential vulnerability.
You got the answer right. But you let him go.
To Vincent, emotion is weakness. When the urging of Max and pleading from the jazz musician fall on deaf ears, it seems to break the facade. This is the first clear instance where we find out that Vincent isn't just a violent criminal. I mean, he most certainly is ruthless and cold-blooded, but doesn't have the psychopathic lack of understanding that you usually see within these films.
Yeah, I'm not the one lying to my mother.
She hears what she wants to hear. I don't disillusion.
Yeah, right. Maybe she hears what you tell her.
He's very articulate, able to conjure up conversations and personas on the fly whenever it's warranted. The scariest type of psychopath is the one that could so easily blend into any environment. He's well-dressed, well-groomed, well-spoken, and can flip from sincere
I'm very happy to meet you, Mrs. DeRocher.
Or just call me Ivy.
to extremely dangerous at a moment's notice. At times, these car conversations with Max can get pretty vulnerable.
Got drunk, beat me up, foster homes, went back with him.
Now, what Max doesn't realize is that a man like Vincent will only open up if there's no risk involved. In his mind, Max's fate is already sealed.
Just take comfort knowing you never had a choice.
He's simply toying with this evening's cab driver. As the saying goes, dead men tell no tales. The film's title is Collateral, which refers to the initial payment of $700 for his cab services. At this point, it's far past the money. There's a moment at the hospital where Vincent lets Max know how easily he can appeal to those he loves by being kind and sincere towards his mother.
You paid for my flowers? They're beautiful. You must be one of Max's important clients.
You know, I like to think of myself as his friend.
This, the FBI's pursuit, and a new love interest are all leveraged against Max.
You got 10 minutes. At 10:01, I drive to the hospital and execute your mother on my way out of town.
Vincent is able to maintain composure because he knows he carries all the chips. He humors these more in-depth conversations, making small talk about dreams and life as if he were an old friend.
Millions of galaxies of hundreds of millions of stars and a speck on one. That's us, lost in space.
This adaptability is super intriguing to an audience. When we picture people who are as vicious as Vincent, they usually don't carry the sophisticated charm, his conversation skills, or his appearance. We picture monsters, people unable to blend in with the general public. Whenever he says something that's morally sound, it's almost hard to accept.
They project onto you their flaws. They don't like about themselves, their lives, whatever.
As the viewer, we're conflicted. Why should we listen to a man responsible for so much tragedy? Surely if he'd go to these extremes, anything he says should be dismissed. But that's exactly the film's intent. You're supposed to be bothered by the fact that you can share the same views or perception of ideas with such a dangerous individual.
17 million people. This is a country, the 5th biggest economy in the world, and nobody knows each other.
It makes us uncomfortable. Vincent and Max are opposite extremes. Max is incredibly passive, usually in the perpetual service of others, who lies to protect his pride and lets his ambitions pass him by.
I offer one fat Angelino and you throw a hissy fit.
Vincent is a taker, a man who lets his actions do the talking, who has completely distanced himself from emotional attachment or a moral compass. But the scariest part of Vincent is not that he doesn't know right from wrong. He's completely aware of it, even more than the vast majority of people. He just simply doesn't care.
There's no good reason, there's no bad reason to live or to die.
Then what are you?
Indifferent.
A man who has consciously sworn off any attempt at human connection in pursuit of financial gain.
That's what I do for a living.
A man who knows exactly what he's doing and completely accepts it. This is the crux of Vincent's ideals and what makes him such a compelling character. I really think Tom Cruise was perfect for this role. I mean, who knew he could capture terrifying subtlety so well?
I'd sit down and have meetings with him and he was, showed me pictures of where the character came from. And
how he seamlessly transitioned transitions from being a ruthless captor
What's going with my work?
to a friendly advisor. Cruz's performance is meant to challenge our perception of morality. This makes Vincent not only one of the most memorable and chilling villains of all time, but one who is disturbingly relatable.